Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My peace be upon you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are delighted to welcome you to the first international conference on multimedia, architecture and design IMADe 2020, inclusive of creative in design, planning and digital business here in Institute Design and Business Bali. The conference aimed to accommodate various ideas from academic, participants, officials, creative industry performers, and policymakers from all over the world to contribute to the science and creative industries development both in Indonesia to the global level. This conference provides the opportunity for participants to presenting current issue, best practice, as well as discussing and collaborating in the fields of multimedia, architecture, urban planning, design, art and culture, as well as business digitization. Host here in the Institute Design and Business Bali has the honor to present you this international conference with our keynote speakers. Mr. Ide Bagus Rai Dharmawijaya Mantra, SEMSI, or on behalf of Mayor of Denpasar, Bali, Indonesia, Mrs. Niluh Putu Riastiti, SS Empar. Dr. Diane Butler from International Foundation for Dharma Nature Time, USA. Associate Professor Dr. Ting Ding Hu from University Technology Petronas, Malaysia. Mr. Ton van Brad, a typographer practitioner in brand identity, environmental graphics, print and digital design, Netherlands. Mr. Alastair Brooks, B.A. Hons, M.A., doctoral researcher, University College Cork, Ireland, and co-founder of Design Student Global Network. And our moderator, Mrs. Ardina Susanti, STMT from Institute of Design and Business Bali. This conference also welcomes all the presenters to present their research into the parallel session following the schedule that was given. Ladies and gentlemen, for a brief moment, now we would like to listen Indonesia Anthem, Indonesia Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, too thankful for the blessing that we are here for this conference. All the participants are asked to pray according to their respective religions and belief. Praying begins. Praying ends. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to listen to the welcome speech delivered by the Rector of Institute Design and Business Bali. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Nikade Suryani, SES ICOM MM.
Om Swastiastu. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Bapak Ide Bagus Rai Dharma Wijaya Mantra, SAMSI, or on behalf of Major of Denpasar Bali, Indonesia, Ibu Niluh Putu Riastiti, SSM Par. The Honorable Dr. Diana Butler, International Foundation for Dharma Nature Time USA. The Honorable Associate Professor Dr. Ting Ding Hoi, University Technology Petromas, Malaysia. The Honorable Ton van Brach, typographer, practitioner in brand identity, environmental graphic, print and digital design, Netherlands. The Honorable Alastair Brook BA, Hons MA, Doctoral Researcher, University College Cork, Ireland, co-founder, Design Student Global Network, DSGN. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen, all participants of this conference. It is a pleasure to be here today, Tuesday, 20 October 2020. We would like to extend our warmest welcome to this international conference on multimedia, architecture, and design. This is the first international conference held by Bali Institute Design and Business, IDB Bali, as a form of borderless collaboration and a proof that IDB Bali is expanding step, not only in the national, but also to the global level. IDB Bali would like to accommodate various ideas from academic, participants, official, creative industries, and policymakers from all over the world to contribute the science and creative industries development. If we did this conference online during the pandemic period, I'm sure that the purpose of this conference will be achieved to increase the number of research collaboration both in national and international level by exchanging information about research activity and progress conducted by all delegates and participants from various institutions at home and abroad. On this very occasion, we would like to express our deepest gratitude to all presenters and participants. Please accept our regret to the shortcomings you might find in this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, by saying thank you to the God, I declare this international conference on multimedia, architecture, and design officially open. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nikade Suryani. We are now going to listen to the report delivered by the Managing Director of IMADe 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, Please welcome Mrs. Vera Yogantari, SSN, MFA.
Om Swastiastu. Good morning. The Honorable Rector of IDB Bali, the Honorable Mayor of Denpasar, the Honorable Keynote Speakers, the Honorable Presenters and Participants, the Honorable Partner Universities, Associations, and Supporters, also the beloved IMADe 2020 Committee. I, representing the IMADe 2020 Committee, would like to express my gratitude to God, where we can gather here virtually in the first International Conference on Multimedia, Architecture and Design, IMADe 2020. Nowadays, creativity is a valuable element embedded in a human's daily life. Various prominent roles of a graphic designer, architect, interior designer, urban designer, AI or artificial intelligence designer, or even a creative planner are highly demanded to be creative in meeting the competitive requirements of creative industry. An inclusive skill of creativity is highly required, both theoretical and empirical, in contributing to sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, this international conference is a form of our concern at IDB Bali to improve the creative atmosphere in the academic field with 3 subtopics, namely creative design, planning, and digital business. We received 73 articles with 140 authors from 19 universities from within and outside the country. The result of this international conference are in the form of proceedings that can be downloaded online and will soon be printed with the ISBN. With the outcome of the proceedings at this conference, it is hoped that academics, practitioners, students, and stakeholders can gain a deeper understanding of the meaning of inclusive creativity so that they can contribute to sustainable development. A few reports from me representing the IMADe committee. We apologize profusely for the imperfections that occurred during the event. Finally, I thank everyone, and hopefully we can meet in Bali either for the national or international conference next year held by IDB Bali. Om Santi 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 Om. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vera. Ladies and gentlemen, now we will continue to the next session. However, before we move further to the next agenda, the Technical Committee would like to thank our general sponsor of IMADe 2020, our partner, University Teknologi Petronas Malaysia, Ton van Braak Design, Design Student Global Network, Study in Bali, Car Concept, Dharma Nature Time, University College Cork, Ireland, Cox Center of Architectural Education, and University College Cork, Ireland. And also this conference fully supported by Asosiasi Profesional Desain Komunikasi Visual Indonesia Bali, Asosiasi Digital Marketing Indonesia Bali, Himpunan Desain Interior Indonesia Bali, Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia Bali, Ikatan Ahli Perencanaan Bali. Thank you for your attention. We are now continuing our meeting to the next agenda, that is to hear the keynote speech session 1, which will be delivered by Mrs. Nilo Puturiastiti, Dr. Diane Butler, and Associate Professor Dr. Ting Ding Hu, and session 2, which will be delivered by Mr. Ton van Braak and Mr. Alastair Brook. Both sessions will be moderated by Mrs. Ardina Susanti. To Ms. Ardina Susanti, The floor is yours.
Thank you for your time, Ethan. Om Swastiastu. I wish all of you in good condition and God. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Namo Buddhaya. Salam kebajikan. Salam kita semua. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to inform that the Mayor of Denpasar apologized that the Mayor has another duty that cannot be leave, so that sign up and then start with the office to deliver his presentation. May I introduce myself? My name is Julia Siti, as mentioned by the moderator, that I'm the head of the marketing division at Denpasar Government Office. Before presenting the mayor presentation, I would like to deliver my respectful thanks to the Honorable Chairman of the SPD Bali, Mrs. Madia and all of the staff, and the Honorable Speaker, Mrs. Diane Basler, Professor Dr. Ting Ding Hui, and Mr. Ton Fondra. Good morning to all of you and one greeting to all the participants of IMADe International. It's really a great honor for me, especially to represent our mayor in this very seminar. We do hope that we can join the seminar till the end. Okay, here we come to the seminar, to the material from mayor. Okay. The mayor presentation is graphic and number of cultural insights of the thing towards harmony. So this one here. Next. Okay. This is the general overview of the so this matter in the area is more than 1,000 people. The area is about 127.7 square meters. It's divided into 4 districts. They are consist of 27 villages and 15 administrations. So there are two kinds of villages. There are
Excuse me, Ibu Riastiti. Yeah, can you be near your microphone because I can hear your voice clearly here.
sorry. To apologize for that.
Test, check.
Yes,
Is it
yes,
okay?
it's clear.
Okay,
Yes,
that's
it's
clear.
clear.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, okay. Let me start again. Denpasar city consists of 4 districts, which consists of 27 villages and 16 administrative villages. We know in Bali there are two kinds of village. There are desa and kelurahan. Perhaps it's clear for us. And then with the total population in 2019 is about 947,000 people. Is a little bit crowd. And then 30% of source of local income is from tourism sector, which based on culture. And then the Denpasar city government has a vision. It is creative Denpasar on cultural insight of balancing towards harmony. We have 5 missions in here. It is to strengthening to people Denpasar identity based on Balinese culture, and then empowerment for people of Denpasar based on local wisdom, and the improvement of public services through good governance based on law enforcement, and can the increase of economic resilience for people of Denpasar with focusing welfare economic. And then the last one is strengthening to balancing the development in many dimensions based on Trihita Karana. So in here we have potencies. We have the vision of Denpasar government is the title itself, is a creative economic, as I said before, that it's try the Denpasar city government is aimed to meet the balance in all aspects of life, establishing sustainability, and at the end achieving the goal. It has the happiness of people. Actually, we have potencies such as human resources, and then economic community-based economic development, and then culture-based development, and the synergy among stakeholders. They are academicians, business, community, government, and media. But we also face challenges in our development, such as narrow area of our land that can be built or be developed. We can say that we are lack of natural resources. We don't have many good views or good landscape that can be as a tourist attractions. We are lack of skilled human resources, although we have many human resources, but still we need skilled ones. And then we have to face global competition. We have to adapt to the Industrial Revolution 4.0, and now we have to face the shifting or the changing after the pandemic. I think all countries, all cities, or all nations will face the same problem because of the pandemic COVID-19. So what we have done and what we should do in the future is to keep conducting sustainable development program in terms of next please. Okay, we have to before. Okay, we have to still conduct the sustainable development program in terms of government, development, and society participants based on vision and mission itself. So what should we do is being creative and being innovative to meet the sustainable goals in terms of spiritual, ecological, and people. So we try to establish the sustainable development goals in Denpasar city. Next, please. Okay. All the development in Denpasar and Bali in general must be based on the concept of Trihita Karana. Trihita Karana is the three concept of harmonious relationship between human and the God, human and others, and also human and the environment. So based on this concept, we try to make a creative city. We try to do whatever we can do because tourism is, as I said before, that tourism is the main sector in Bali. We try to perform this in order to attract quality tourists Especially for the future, we need the tourists more, the quality tourists, not just the mass tourism, not just good in number, but also in span and also in length of stay. Okay, next. So, how to meet the vision goal with all the mission we conduct today? There are several things we should do, and Bapak Wali Kota, Bapak Raimantra, proposed what is called orange economy. Orange economy is a creative economy which based on our local wisdom and culture. So the only way to reach the goal by being creative and do innovation that meet the sustainable development goals of SDG, emphasize on spiritual, ecological, and people point of view. And then from the point above, we come to concept of Trihitakana, as I mentioned before. And then we see, as we see, uh, as we see recently, when the pandemic outbreaks, the tourism business is crumbled up. And many people in tourism sectors are unpaid leave or no job at all. But fortunately, many of them are tough enough and never give up. They take side jobs such as many of them become seller of crops, fruits, and food. And so that's why the government of Denpasar give them self-learning and skill short course about entrepreneurship. So this one, by the implementation of orange economy, we see that we can survive enough to face this pandemic. What the government, Denpasar city government, provide is supporting to build a creative economic ecosystem. So how we synergy, build a synergy with all stakeholders in Bali and in Denpasar particularly, how to uh, run the economic based on community, and then how to involve the role of its stakeholder in facing this situation. So there are several kinds that the government of Pasar has done, such as do a companionship and then give them such learning and skill short course about entrepreneurship, give incentives, and then provide such a marketplace that can support the business of people who got the impact of the pandemic. Next, please. Okay. Before the previous slide, please. This one. Okay. Oh, okay. Next. Okay. How did Denpasar government run the mission and achieve the goals? First, uh, building Denpasar Creative City by developing orange economy, as I mentioned before. It's actually a creative economy based on culture and local wisdom. Yeah, supporting community-based. Okay. Supporting community-based economic development and ecosystem, build infrastructure like this, you can see, and then establish cooperation and create creative agency as a team to developing creative economy. Next, please. Okay. We also make smart branding. In here, you can see the Denpasar, the heart of Bali. You can see baris. Baris is one of our Balinese dance. So there are 5 colors in the logo. It means that we have 5 potencies of tourism, which represent by its color. And then we have a very beautiful mural. And then the branding is aimed to propose Denpasar culture, to promote Denpasar city as an art and culture introductory city. And we propose the branding in order to define what actually Denpasar city is. So as a destination, as a creative city, as a heritage city, as a cultural city, and so on. Next, please. Next, please. Okay. And then we give education and practice for the young generation, for the small and micro entrepreneur. And then,
Excuse me.
yeah.
Excuse me, Bu Riastiti. Your
Yeah.
time, 5 minutes again. Maybe you can
Okay.
explain faster.
Okay. Okay. This one, education and practice. And then, okay. Provide education and practice course and accompaniment in terms of entrepreneurship, startup, hobbies, arts, and creative performance. And then, next, please. Build creative hub and junior chamber to facilitate young generation as the young entrepreneur to enter business opportunity. You can see there are many creative hubs that built in Denpasar city. Next, please. Okay, and then we also establishing cooperation with cities, the cities government in Indonesia and also internationally. Next, please. Okay, revitalization, and then the next step is revitalization of traditional market. Revitalization of traditional market, it is important as a traditional market is a place where all of society gather in one place and make a cultural interaction. We believe that traditional market is the embryo, the membrane, and also the heart of economic circulation. So we have to maintain it. For we believe that the traditional market will bring prosperity. And then the next step, next please. Establishing creative festivals. And this pandemic, we also inform you that every year, Denpasar always held Denpasar Festival at the end of the year. And also in this pandemic, the Denpasar government also held the Denpasar Festival, the 13th Denpasar Festival, with the theme Creativity Beyond Limit. So this festival will be carried out from October up to December 2020. Next, please. Okay, this one is Denpasar Festival 2020 that will be held through virtual and also offline with limit participants. So it will be held for 3 months. Next, please. This one is another creative festival, which also held in Denpasar. Next, please. Next, please. Okay, this one is Denpasar Creativity. So you can see animation, cartoon, YouTube channel, music, comics. Next, please. Okay, we also build city creative facilities. So you can see Youth Park in Denpasar, and then also the one is Industrial Training Center. So the most new one is Alaya, Dharma Negara Alaya. Next, please.
Excuse me, Bu
Okay.
Riastiti.
Yeah.
1 minute again, yeah.
Okay, Dharma
Yeah.
Negara Alaya. This one is a creative hub, arts and creative arts. Next, please. Next, please. Okay. This is the dimension of the Managara Alaya. So perhaps you can see from the presentation. Next, please. So the Dharma Negara Alaya provide audiovisual room, video editing, photography. So you can see like this, and it open for public. You can use you can just come and use Dharma Negara Alaya as your creative hub. Next, please. Okay,
Uh,
this one.
Excuse me, Bu
Yeah,
Riastiti.
yeah.
The time
Okay,
is up.
okay, okay.
Yeah, okay.
7 minutes.
I'm so
Okay,
sorry. Yeah,
okay.
okay. Please 1 minute again.
Perhaps I can present one last quote. Next, please. The most important thing from the mayor. Okay, this one is from the mayor. The quote: "Find yourself is the creativity source and welfare of life." So this one from the father of the mayor, and the next one. This is from our ancestor too. Next, please. Next, please. Okay. This one from Ida Padanda Madisidemen, tonglah karang awak tandurin. If you don't have rice paddy field to plant, so please plant the seed in deep into yourself. So knowledge is very important to face future challenges, but the most important thing is teamwork for the better future. I think it's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Rastiti. Very interesting presentation, but unfortunately we have a time limit. So, and
Okay.
I'm so glad you show on the slide our student creation of mural in
Yeah.
Taman Kota and also in Pasar Badung, Badung Market, traditional market. And thank you, Ibu Riastiti, once again. And next, we will hear the presentation from Ibu Diana Butler, PhD. And at first, let me uh, explain about her short background. Uh, Ibu Diana Butler is a dance movement artist, teacher, and also cultural program director who has collaborated with traditional and contemporary artists from varied culture and faith in America, Europe, and Asia for 35 years. And since 2001, she has resided in Bedulu villages and Tejakula villages, and also at the same years, together with Suprapto Suryodarmo, she co-founded the Dharma Nature Time International Foundation with member 8 nations that carry out some activities to support interculture in cultural environment, to sharing in art, religiosity, and nature. Dharma Nature Time Foundation was granted Roster Consultative Status with the Economic and Social Council of United Nations. And Ibu Diana is also the alumna of United Nations Institute for Training and Research in 2011. And she holds her BFA in dance from Juilliard School, MALS from Wesleyan University, and PhD in Cultural Studies, Universitas Udayana. And in 2014, she was appointed by Rector as a volunteer associate professor in that program. So, Ibu Diana, please present your material and the time is yours.
Sekali. Terima kasih sekali. Apa bisa mendengar saya dengan baik sepertinya ya?
It's
Ibu
clear,
Riastiti,
Bu Diana.
Ibu
Yes.
Riastiti, terima kasih
Yeah.
juga. Saya mohon maaf apa bisa di mute sebentar
Oh,
supaya
okay.
suara-suara anaknya yang samping ibu.
Okay.
Tapi saya bahagia dapat bertemu sebentar meskipun dunia maya. Terima kasih sekali kepada Rektor Institut Desain dan Bisnis Bali dan juga teman-teman semuanya yang hadir dan khususnya dua kawan saya dari Kajian Budaya Universitas Udayana, Suyoga dan Pasek Putra yang ajak saya hadir kegiatan ini hari ini. Sebenarnya mereka kirim undangan kepada saya bulan Januari sebelum kondisi pandemi muncul. Saya minta tolong dari Pak Irvan. Pak Irvan ada? Apa bisa PowerPoint saya di full screen supaya saya
Okay.
bisa baca? And I just like to say that because I live in Indonesia a long time, Om Swastiastu, Salam Budaya, Assalamualaikum, and may all beings be healthy and happy and hopefully a little bit more prosperous in this unique time of history of humanity and the earth. I don't have the habit of speaking in English when I make share with Indonesians. So what I decided to do was to write the PowerPoint in English for our friends who don't speak Bahasa. And I would speak Bahasa in my interesting Western logat. But sometimes I will also mix in English. And please pardon also if there's interesting sounds such as grandchildren playing here or someone sweeping and so forth, because I live in a traditional Balinese compound, the home of the former village of the Bedulu, the home of the former chief of the village of Bedulu, dekat Pura Samantiga, which is an area very important in the history of Bali. And that is also why I live here. And I'm very pleased that I'm a part of this compound. So I've included them in my presentation also. The topik saya hari ini is inclusively creative praxis for Sandang, Pangan, Papan. And I'd like to ask if we can move to the next slide. Pak Iran, next. Thank you. Pada bulan Januari ketika saya diundang untuk memberi ceramah untuk konferensi IMADe ini, sebenarnya banyak dari kita yang hadir hari ini sudah telah bekerja secara lokal untuk memvisikan dan menerapkan cara-cara untuk mempromosikan keanekaragaman ekspresi budaya dan memajukan kreativitas untuk pembangunan berkelanjutan, sustainable development. Kalau kita membaca literature, saya melihat sebenarnya topik konferensi IMADe kita adalah tema untuk konferensi perdana, World Conference on Creative Economy, inclusively creative, yang diadakan di Bali pada tahun 2018. Juga tema ini masuk dalam inisiatif Republik Indonesia untuk resolusi PBB yang diadopsi oleh Sidang Umum PBB pada Desember 2019 untuk mendeklarasikan 2021 sebagai International Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development. Namun sejak pertengahan Maret 2020, orang-orang dimanapun di dunia hidup pada masa pandemi global COVID-19 yang mempercepat tantangan besar ini, terutama untuk memenuhi kebutuhan dasar manusia. Next. Kejadian-kejadian ini mendorong saya untuk merenungkan dua gerakan paralel. Satu, lintasan tren konseptual terkait dan kerangka kerja internasional sejak tahun 2015. Kedua, munculnya beberapa inovasi lokal skala kecil sejak Hari Raya Nyepi 2020. Jelas, keterbatasan mobilitas dan sumber daya saat ini berdampak pada sektor budaya. Namun, tampaknya praksis kreatif yang inklusif untuk sandang, pangan, papan dapat berkontribusi untuk kebaikan dunia. Next. Pada awalnya saya berpikir sebenarnya apa maksudnya inclusively creative. Jadi saya memutuskan untuk lihat beberapa dokumen resmi dari PBB, umpamanya 1995 World Summit for Social Development, 1995 Our Creative Diversity Report of the World Commission on Culture and Development, 1998 Stockholm Action Plan, 2001 UNESCO Universal Declaration on Cultural Diversity. Semua dokumen ini memanggil kita untuk kebijakan dan tindakan yang mempromosikan keanekaragaman ekspresi budaya dan memajukan kreativitas untuk pembangunan berkelanjutan. Next. Sebenarnya pada tahun 90-an, budaya sudah terintegrasi dalam kerangka pembangunan berkelanjutan. Also in 2005, UNESCO Convention on the Protection and Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions. Kemudian pada 2015, yang disahkan UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, yang berjanji untuk menciptakan kondisi untuk pertumbuhan ekonomi yang inklusif dan berkelanjutan, kesejahteraan bersama, dan pekerjaan yang layak bagi semuanya. Industri budaya dan kreatif diakui sebagai penggerak dan pendorong pembangunan untuk menumbuhkan keberlanjutan ekonomi, sosial, dan lingkungan. Next. Sebenarnya sejak lahirnya Republik Indonesia pada tahun 1945, budaya dan kreativitas telah diintegrasikan ke dalam kebijakan dan rencana pembangunan nasional yang berkelanjutan. Langkah-langkah kunci terkini termasuk 2015 pembentukan Badan Ekonomi Kreatif, 2017 UU RI tentang pemajuan kebudayaan, 2017 lagi preparatory meetings First World Conference on Creative Economy, dan 2018 konferensi 2 yang perdana bertajuk Inclusively Creative yang diadakan di Nusa Dua Bali, Indonesia, dihadiri oleh 200 delegasi dari 37 negara dan organisasi internasional yang melahirkan Bali Agenda for the Creative Economy. Next. The 2018 Bali Agenda for the Creative Economy yang berangkat dari tumbuhnya aspirasi untuk membuka potensi budaya, seni, bakat, teknologi, inovasi, dan sumber-sumber lainnya ekonomi kreatif, dan juga bahwa ekonomi kreatif dapat melestarikan kearifan lokal, memelihara keanekaragaman budaya, dan membawa pengembangannya ekonomi lokal yang kaya dengan budaya khas yang belum tergali. Pada 2019, UU RI tentang ekonomi kreatif juga sebutkan dalam mencapai masyarakat adil dan makmur yang mampu memajukan kesejahteraan umum. Negara Indonesia harus mengoptimalkan seluruh sumber daya ekonomi, terutama mengoptimalkan kreativitas sumber daya manusia yang berbasis warisan budaya, ilmu pengetahuan, dan atau teknologi. Next. Jadi, tidak heran kalau di PBB sendiri diucapkan terima kasih kepada Indonesia yang kontribusi besar pada idenya Creative Economy for Sustainable Development. Malah, masukan dari seniman, akademisi, dan pakar dari berbagai bidang dalam forum nasional dan internasional telah menjadi sangat penting. Jadi untuk seluruh pemakaian hari ini, siapa tahu nanti bisa berkontribusi pada kerangka untuk masa depan juga. Untuk yang tertarik membaca hal-hal seperti itu, ada daftar pusaka pada akhirnya makalah saya yang akan diterbitkan oleh panitia. Terima kasih. Next. Jadi pertanyaan kedua saya juga pentingnya melakukan tindakan konkret yang cocok. Saya tahu bahwa kita semua di sini sudah punya banyak pengalaman, apalagi terkait dengan mempromosikan keanekaragaman ekspresi budaya dan memajukan kreativitas untuk pembangunan berkelanjutan. Namun, di tengah bulan Maret, muncul keterbatasan mobilitas dan sumber daya terkait pandemi. Jadi, juga muncul sebuah kebingungan di tengah Maret pun saat saya sedang menulis naskah ini. Gagasan tentang inclusively creative dan rasa prihatin tentang bagaimana orang-orang dapat memenuhi kebutuhan dasarnya. Ini membuat saya berpikir tentang ide inclusively creative praxis for sandang, pangan, papan, clothing, food, and shelter. Next. Saya berpikir sebenarnya ada beberapa kemungkinan untuk mempertahankan dan mentransformasikan kearifan lokal saat ini, meskipun kita dalam kondisi yang sangat istimewa. Saya ingin mulai sebenarnya dengan idenya Silent Day of Nyepi, tahun Saka 1942, in the Christian year of 2020. And apa yang saya sebutkan sebagai jeda besar, or the great
Excuse me,
pause.
Ibu Diana. Excuse me, Ibu Diana.
Lagi
Your
5
time
menit.
is, yes, 5 menit lagi, Bu.
Bagus, pas.
Ya.
Sebenarnya kita di sini sudah tahu bahwa Nyepi adalah hari untuk bumi beristirahat, juga untuk segala isinya. Dalam hal keberlanjutan lingkungan, the collaboration for climate change memikirkan mungkin emisi karbon di Bali berkurang setidaknya 20,000 ton selama 24 jam pada Hari Raya Nyepi. Benar-benar indah, suara alam di seluruh pulau, langit terbuka, dan kesempatan untuk introspeksi. Next. Tanpa mengurangi perasaan guncang-guncang yang terjadi sekarang. Yang saya ingin ceritakan sebenarnya sudah ada adaptasi dengan kenyataan pada Nyepi. Ogo-ogo tidak jalan diam setempat seperti kita. Juga pada Nembakeni biasanya kunjungi keluarga tetangga, tapi semuanya sudah diam setempat. Dan malah pada hari itu, saya tanya pada panitia IMADe ini, apakah kita akan memikirkan Oktober nanti gimana? Apakah virtually online seperti sekarang? Next. Saya merasakan bahwa Nyepi itu sebenarnya menjadi kesempatan untuk kita memikirkan untuk masa depan seperti yang disebutkan di UU RI tentang ekonomi kreatif, terutama untuk mengoptimalkan kreativitas sumber daya manusia yang berbasis warisan budaya. Next. Sebenarnya sudah muncul beberapa hal-hal sejak Nyepi lokal yang skala kecil yang bisa disebutkan sebagai garis bawah 4 kali lipat, yaitu dimensi ekonomi, sosial, lingkungan, dan spiritual. Umpamanya seniman, tanam benih, sayur lokal, herbal, pohon buah-buahan di kebun rumah mereka. Itu meningkatkan penghijauan di daerah pedesaan dan kota. Orang berbelanja, hal-hal pokok di pasar lokal, meningkatkan dinamika sistem ekonomi tradisional di pasar, bengkel daur ulang, menawarkan beras untuk ganti bekas plastik, meningkatkan pengelolaan sampah plastik sekaligus meningkatkan akses pada makanan pokok. Seniman kerajinan mendesain dan memproduksikan masker wajah, meningkatkan akses pada pakaian pelindung dan dengan harga terjangkau, sekaligus menghasilkan pendapatan di rumah.
Excuse me, Bu Dian.
Lagi
1 minute
terima
saja.
kasih.
Oke.
Lagi 2
Thank you.
menit, maju.
Sip. Ya,
Terima
silakan.
kasih. Yang kedua, juga pendidikan informal. Next. Yang diadakan pendidikan formal bagus di rumah yang meningkatkan pertukaran antar generasi, adik kakak dengan orang tua untuk transmisi dan transformasi pengetahuan dan keterampilan yang tradisional dan yang baru. Anggota keluarga pun merekam dan mendokumentasikan tugas PR, meningkatkan keterlibatan dengan pembelajaran dan perkembangan anak-anak. Organisasi sektor budaya dan pendidikan menyediakan kegiatan seperti ini, meningkatkan akses pada seni dan warisan budaya, maupun juga perpustakaan dan penerbit, membuka akses pada koleksi, meningkatkan akses pada pengetahuan. Next. Sebenarnya ada fenomena yang tertarik juga. Jauh lebih banyak layang-layang yang terbang di desa-desa. Menari bebas dengan rasa kebersamaan di langit bersama. Setiap layang-layang diikat pada rumah dengan benang tipis yang tahan lama. Bahkan pada malam, puluhan layang-layang lampu LED muncul seperti membentukkan rasi bintang yang baru. Next. 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 Izinkan saya tutup. Next. Sebenarnya ada konsep saya ingin sampaikan untuk tutup kalau boleh Ardina. 1 minit lagi karena sangat penting.
Silahkan Ibu.
Konsep Jawa yang disebutkan nunggak semi. Konsep pembangunan. Bagaimana sesuatu bisa tumbuh dari pohon yang lama atau sisa-sisa sesuatu yang sudah hampir mati atau membusuk. Next. Ini foto pohon kecil di rumah ini, di mana ditebus semua masyarakat Bali dan Indonesia pada umumnya mengerti ini. Yang di sini, yang di depan sebenarnya banyak daun, yang di belakang sedikit. Tapi minggu ini semua sedang tumbuh. Meskipun ada yang lambat, ada yang cepat. Dan saya berpikir, next, untuk kita, ini bisa menjadi inspirasi pada zaman global academic pandemic. Bagaimana human-centered and nature-centered and locality and creative design supaya kita terus kerja untuk menemukan cara-cara untuk mengaktualisasikan inclusively creative praxis for sandang, pangan, papan, clothing, food, and shelter for the betterment of the world. Terima kasih. Suksma.
Suksma Ibu Dayana. It's very interesting presentation about inclusively creative praxis of our primary needs, sandang, pangan, papan, and I would okay, and I would like to remind the audience to write the question, and the question next will be read in Q&A session 1. All participants can ask to our 3 keynote speaker from Ibu Riastiti to Ibu Dayana and also to Mr. Ting Ding Hoi. And I would like to explain once again about the rules to ask the question. Please write your name, institution, and your question. Please be written in English, and also for whom this question will be asked to keynote speaker. Okay. Next, we will hear the presentation from Associate Professor Mr. Ting Ding Hui from University Technology Petronas, Kuala Lumpur. Let me tell about his short background. Mr. Ting Ding Hui is an associate professor of Department of Management and Humanities in University Technology Petronas since 2018, and also as a cluster leader business and management unit at the same department, and also the head of publication and head of research grants, and also the coordinator of MBA Energy Management in Petronas University of Technology. And he also has many awards in teaching awards from Monash University from 2008 until 2012, and also has many research awards in 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2019, and also received an Administration Award in 2010 from Monash University. And also Mr. Ting has several experiences in professional affiliation as senior member of International Economics Development and Research Center in Hong Kong since 2015, and also as a focal contact person in Mixed Method International Research Association for Malaysia chapter since 2016, and Advanced for Consumer Research USA since 2017, and as the president of American Association of Inside Sales Professional for Malaysia chapters in since 2017. And please, Mr. Ting, present your materials, and the time and floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me for this international conference as a keynote speaker. Well, as you can see, as you can see, my background is my university library. It is one of the very strategic location that we have, and we always promote our university library, whereby it is quite well designed. Now, I'm going to share to you my thought about inclusively, and this will be my presentation. Okay, my name is Ting Ding Hui, and I'm from University Technology Petronas, Malaysia. And I will be speaking on inclusively, a societal perspective. Well, I will be looking into what is the meaning of inclusively, and I try to understand when IMADe gave me the topic inclusively, what comes into my mind? The first thing that comes into my mind, that is inclusive, okay? The inclusive means comprehensive. So in other words, we are looking into two extreme sides, the very bad, the very good, and also the areas in between, yeah? So that is what comes into my mind when I was given the topic inclusive, okay? But then now we keep on thinking, my area is in marketing, and I've been talking about doing a proper marketing strategy to actually look into coming out with a niche marketing, okay? Niche marketing, whereby we are looking into the tailor-made. All the while, we keep on looking into tailor-made, we look into segmentation, we try to look into the boutique aspect, the micro level of trying to gauge customers and etc. But then now, what happened is, all these, tailor-made, segmentation, all these are actually more on a personal level. And we are looking into the profit level organization, whereby they are actually looking into what are the benefits or what are the profit level that I can actually gain from having a very niche micro market, okay? But then now we look into the era of sustainability, whereby are we still looking into the smaller section? Okay, are we still looking into the smaller section, or should we look into the bigger perspective? So inclusively, it is more on the bigger perspective, whereby we look into the flexibility, we look into the ethical issue, and also to some people who are actually at the extreme sides, okay, the marginalized people, those are not normal people and etc. That is low physical people, and they do not act as what the normal people act. Okay, so we are looking into also the low physical effort and equity issue. So inclusively, to me, when I thought about that, I was thinking, to what extent have we actually invited all these people who are marginalized and who are also incapable to be part of the society? So that was what I was thinking when I was given this topic, inclusively. Now, let me bring you back to what happened to inclusively, okay? So we look at the terminology that we have, anthropometrics. So anthropometrics, it is a comparative study of the measurement and capabilities of the human body. We are trying to see what we can actually do, because not everyone is born perfect. Okay, not everyone has all the abilities. So anthropometrics, it derives from the Greek word anthropos, that is human, and metron, that is to measure. Okay, so when we look into what happened, we look into anthropometry, it is actually looking into a wide range of industries, processes, services, and products, and it has considerable importance in optimizing. So we are looking into the design of buildings, especially. Yeah. Then we look into another different terminology, ergonomics. A lot of people have been doing ergonomics, especially in marketing, in management, in organizational behavior. A lot of people have been looking into the terminology ergonomics. And even in the academia, there is also journal on ergonomics. So we are looking into ergonomics as a branch of science related to the design of workplace, products, and systems to best fit those who use them. So we are looking into more on a comprehensive style, trying to see what we can do for everyone to make sure that everyone, they will have easy access, okay, or ease of use. So this becomes ergonomics from Greek ergon, that is work, and normos, that is law. Now, when we look into both of these terminology, we can say that, well, it is all about human factor. Though ergonomics, they are more on the environmental, physical aspect. Now, we look into what happened to ergonomics. So in many research, in many publications, people have been talking about how to actually make workstation, control panels, how we actually relate all these to the concerns of human performance, making everything simple and easy to use so that it can increase human performance. Now, we go deeper into inclusive, okay? So we look into both anthropometrics and ergonomics. What we are looking at is they seldom have the range of users, okay? We are actually looking into what if there are people with special cases, people who are marginalized, who are not the average normal human being. We have actually, or they have been treated differently, or sometimes they've been ignored completely, okay? So all this while, we have been looking into people who actually differ from the average human being. What we want is, we want them to change to fit themselves into our society and not the society accommodating to their needs. So when we look into inclusively, Now, there is another agenda that is under the word inclusively, whereby it is not only looking into how we can accommodate everybody's needs, but also we are looking into special cases who are having or require special needs. Now, we look into a social model perspective where we can see not everyone is born normal. There are people who are having individual impairment, or they have disabling barriers that the society has created. Now, inclusive, it comprises of everyone, every human being, no matter whether you are normal or you are special. So it includes everyone. So today, what I will be looking at is I will be looking at inclusive from all aspects of human being. I look into inclusively from the perspective of the topic itself, that is design, planning, and digital business. But I will be looking at it from the perspective of societal. Okay. Now, what we have been looking at is all the while, we have been saying that, well, since I'm in marketing, what we are looking at is we are looking at creating relevant content for a wider and more diverse range of audiences. So this has been our focus most of the time. We are looking into how can we produce variety of versions, and what are the things that we can anticipate in the product. We make sure that we are looking into various sizes, shapes, and configurations. So those becomes the societal perspective. Okay, looking into everything as comprehensively as possible. And how do we actually engage everyone to be inclusive? So one of it is we will be engaging a range of users to actually hope that our design will be able to accommodate a wider range of people. So that is what we are looking at, We are looking into the designer's own personal experience. We try to embed the designer's own experience into the cultural differences as well. If we are just looking into one angle, well, that is not inclusive. So we have to look into the variety. We have to look into everyone's perspective. We have to look also into the environment as well as the cultural differences. Okay, so what we are looking at is we are looking into what is inclusive. We start to think, do products work equally for everyone? When we are designing our products, or when we are designing our digital platform, or when we are doing planning, does it work equally for everyone? Or just a very simple one, men and women, we know that we are totally different. Does it work differently for them as well? Okay, so we are looking into inclusive. When we take into considerations the cultural aspects, the different human being, the environment, we look into what is made meaningful. So we say how to make things meaningful. So it is made meaningful by the context, or we make it meaningful by the interactive elements, whereby individual contexts and people interacting together to make something meaningful. So when it becomes meaningful, we are trying to see and we are trying to capture inclusively. Okay, now we are looking into the context here. People are different because of their background, how they are being brought up, their culture, and etc. Now, how do we actually translate all this knowledge into the creative process? Okay, that is the theme, inclusively creative. So what we have now is we have to think about how to think inclusively creative. So we have to think inclusively. Take everyone into consideration. Take into consideration the environment. Take into consideration the cultural aspects as well.
Excuse me, Mr. Ting. Your time is 5 minutes again.
Sure,
Please
I will be
explain
very fast.
faster.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So another one is we are looking into the methodology. Okay, the methodology that requires us to actually empathize with the perspective as well as the needs other than our own perspective. Okay, so that is how we are thinking about inclusively creative. Now, we come into how we apply inclusively into our daily lives. Now, inclusive thinking in making choices. We say before we can actually decide, we have to consider all possible outcomes. Okay, that is inclusive thinking in making choices. The second one is we are looking into inclusive thinking in education. So that is where we care about those people who are special. Okay, so inclusive education becomes popular in the early 2000s. We are looking into special education, focusing on students and helping them feel included to be part of the society. So that is part of the applications of inclusive in daily lives. Some more, we are thinking about relationship, inclusivity. Okay, inclusivity, we are thinking about why we always argue. Why do we have quarrel? Is it because we are unwilling to actually consider another person's point of view? So inclusive means we have not only consider our own perspectives, but also the points of others. That will actually hold a true and strong relationship if you actually think about others as well. Now, let's say if you overthink, over-inclusive thinking, well, we are still thinking of what will happen when it is over-inclusive thinking, because there are quite a lot of different perspectives about over-inclusive thinking. Maybe somebody is not thinking right if you are thinking over-inclusive. So what we have is we try to encourage everyone, try to have a basic inclusive thinking, whereby it is the act of considering all the information about a specific action or a topic before making a decision. So what we are having today is we are thinking about inclusive from a perspective of people, and also from the perspective of the marginalized people, and also from the perspective of the special needs people. Okay, I think I will end my discussions today, and thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ting. It's very on time and less than
Thank you.
20 minutes. Yeah, thank you. And very, very interesting presentation about inclusivity in societal perspective. And next rundown is I open the first question and answer session for keynote speaker. But I don't see any question yet from audience. Okay, to wait the question from the audience, I would like to ask several questions to our three keynote speakers that have explained their material. First, from government, from Ibu Riastiti. Hello, Ibu. Good afternoon. Okay, good afternoon, Ibu. Okay, I have one question about the government of Denpasar City. And what is Denpasar government plan to strengthen our creative economy in Denpasar after this COVID pandemic, and how we will help our tourism? Is it possible to develop the virtual tourism for Denpasar next? Because we don't know.
Can you
I repeat again?
the question? Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
Thank
okay.
you.
Okay. What is the Denpasar government plan to strengthen our creative economy in Denpasar after this COVID pandemic, and how we will be help our tourism, Denpasar tourism especially, and is it possible to develop virtual tourism for Denpasar, because we still don't know yet when this pandemic will be clear or down, and how about the government plan about this?
Okay, perhaps it's better for me to answer in bahasa ya.
Okay.
Oke, untuk memperkuat ekonomi kreatif, kita sudah memiliki beberapa plan. Itu kita berupaya untuk melaksanakan yang pertama itu adalah pemulihan ekonomi dulu. Pemulihan ekonomi ini kita mendapatkan beberapa insentif dana hibah dari Kemenpar, kemudian kita dari APBD juga itu berusaha untuk membantu untuk pemulihan ekonomi dulu. Salah satunya dengan cara di samping pendampingan, kemudian ada pelatihan short course bagi teman-teman sehingga nanti mereka bisa siap untuk shifting seandainya ekonomi pariwisata tidak membaik juga. Jadi mereka sudah memiliki modal lain untuk berusaha. Itu kemudian kita juga membuka untuk saat ini kita membuka mengadakan Denpasar Festival secara virtual. Jadi ini kita untuk menggerakkan para seniman, kita menggerakkan teman-teman di UKM untuk bisa berpartisipasi dalam Denpasar Festival ini. Jadi mereka bisa masuk ke dalam marketplace yang kita buat di Denpasar Festival yang nanti bisa menjual apa saja yang mereka miliki. Sementara untuk pariwisata ke depan, ini tentu kita harus memikirkan adanya shifting demand. Jadi bagaimana kita ke depan harus melihat pariwisata ini tidak sama lagi. Kita memasuki new era yang disebut dengan yang kemarin namanya new normal, sekarang new adaptasi dunia baru gitu, era baru. Jadi akan ada kenormalan baru yang harus kita terapkan. Jadi bagaimana industri kita siap untuk mengakomodir, memfasilitasi apa yang nanti dibutuhkan oleh wisatawan untuk merasa aman, untuk merasa nyaman di tempat kita. Jadi dengan penerapan CHSE namanya, Clean Lines, Health and Safety. Nah ini yang kita juga pikirkan, dan yang terutama juga masalah lingkungan. Ini tentu harus kita sinergikan semua stakeholder untuk mereka benar-benar bisa menampilkan atau perform daya tarik wisata yang memang nanti akan, saya rasa akan berganti, shifting demands nanti dari wisatawan yang akan datang, yang kita harapkan mungkin lebih berkualitas. Benar seperti yang katakan tadi oleh Ibu Dayan, bahwa waktu ini, pandemi ini ya seperti kita nyepi itu, jadi ini waktu kita introspeksi diri untuk mengembalikan semuanya on the track. Mungkin seperti itu.
Baik, terima kasih atas jawabannya. Thank you for the answer, Ibu Riastiti. And next question we have from our one participant. We have the
Dari Pak Freddy ya. Ada pertanyaan dari Pak
Here
Freddy.
in IDB Bali, but he's still in Tasmania. Yeah, but he still studies doctoral in University of Tasmania. And the question to Ibu Diana, it was an interesting presentation, and you've mentioned the local wisdom concept of Nunggak Semi. Do you have any thought how to implement this concept to Balinese people in today's contemporary era? As I believe this concept could be a significant contribution in sustainable development. Yeah, you can answer it, Ibu
Okay,
Diana.
I answer in both English and Indonesian as best I can.
Okay, no problem.
You can hear me okay? Yeah. Pak
Okay,
Freddy,
still
terima
clear.
kasih sekali. Thank you very much. I think it has to do with living measurement. Like, you know, we were at a very fast speed. The whole world was really moving and a lot of movement. People were moving across the planet. People were moving materials, ideas. I mean, just a tremendous amount of movement. And then suddenly we have to sit still. But then we have to learn how to have small movements that are fitting with the space where we are. And also how to utilize things that are closer to us with an understanding of how that has an impact in the greater, like the ide tindakan lokal yang ada dampak global. So, for example, as a dancer, I know how to move through space a lot. I can really move through space. But now I'm working in this tiny little square. And how can I express something and have it be useful in this tiny little square? In the house where I live, di rumah di mana saya tinggal, mereka kembali ke banyak tradisi lama sebenarnya yang indah. For example, in Galungan, that uses so many offerings, Galungan Kuningan, usually made from organic materials. And I always thought, oh, Galungan must be about fertility. It must be, because all those materials later are after finished and then going back to the earth and becoming compost. And then the earth is becoming more rich. And then the flowers will grow again. So you can make more offerings. Idenya. But before, I never saw so much like I saw this year, because the economy is so localized that after the offerings were let go and then burned and then made into pupuk, fertilizer, in a small stone container like his grandmother used to make. And it will sit there for a while until it becomes very fecund. Sampai the tanah sangat kaya dengan mineral-mineral dari daun-daun itu. But it's tidak hanya Bali saja yang punya kearifan lokal seperti itu. It's not just Bali that has that kind of local wisdom. All the masyarakat adat, 700 sekian bahasa di Indonesia, 700 languages in Indonesia, many, many more local customary traditions have small little ways of working with the local reality and adapting and utilizing those things. In Malaysia also, many small traditions. Even in the cities, people still have small traditions that we could say menggali. You can cut back a little bit, cook it until you find a new inspiration for something that's cocok dengan the desa, the kala, and the patra. Something that's fitting with the place, the time, and the conditions. And for sure, that has a good effect for the world. We already know that. I think something like that, Pak Freddy. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Thank you so much, Ibu Diana. Thank you, Pak Freddy, for the question. And
Good
next,
question.
next
Fighting.
from yeah, next question to again to Ibu Diana. Ibu Diana sangat banyak sekali mendapatkan pertanyaan ya. So much question to Ibu Diana. From Desa Putu Yogi Antari from Institut Seni Indonesia Denpasar. The question is, hi Ibu, I have seen so many foreign people who fall in love with Bali and then stay in Bali. I have heard many stories that they love our philosophy, culture, etc. Meanwhile, I noticed that many young Balinese don't want to learn about our culture and see it as something special, like the pangan, sandang, papan concept that you mentioned. Pangan is the first thing we should fulfill and learn to be sustainable, especially with this pandemic. Urban garden is on trend now. Exactly. Meanwhile, we have agricultural culture here. There are many traditional ways of farming, but then the trend now is permaculture. And many young people tend to learn it, but they don't bother to learn anything about subak or the traditional Bali ceremony that held in sawah. What do you think about this phenomenon? Thank you, Ibu. From
Yeah, thank
Ibu
you.
Desa Putu Yogi Antari.
Okay.
Maybe you can answer
Yes, I can do. I can do quickly. Desak Putu.
Okay.
Is my sound back on? Yes. Okay. Terima
Yes,
kasih
clearly.
sekali. That's very good. And then I'll have a question for Pak Ting. So, and basically, wherever in the world, we always look the others more interesting than ourselves. That's a kecenderungan manusia. Lihat yang lain lebih menarik daripada kita sendiri. Dan juga ada kecenderungan antara dunia modern dan dunia tradisi. Saya tahu karena saya penari klasik, tradisi lama, yang masuk dunia modern, tapi tidak sampai 1000% modern. I still put my hair up like this. So I think one of my tasks actually at Udayana is to help wake up how young people can reflect on themselves again. Not just in Bali, everywhere in Indonesia. How you can think about the jewels of your kearifan lokal. But also, I think it's important for the people from other cultures that come here to reflect about their own culture. Because when we go to another culture, we can learn something about ourselves. For example, I learned that Western people can really take a step when I came to Asia. So the question is, how can the Asian have their kind of step? And also, how can the Western learn how to have their kind of seat? And then how we can find a dialogue
There is
between
some
the
technical
two.
problem of cognition.
And then how we can have a dialogue between the two. Interculture and cultural environment, not just always, oh, luar biasa yang lain. But how is the dialogue between our own culture, the other culture, and also the nature itself, the culture of the nature itself? Because it also has a speaking, like Pak Ting said. Inclusively means including everything. Can be a bird has speaking too. Something like that. We just keep talking about it. Dasak. Just keep talking about it and it will come. Something like that.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Dayana, for the answer, and thank you for Ibu Desa Putu Yogi Antari for the question. And one question again from Mr. Freddy Hendrawan to Ibu Riastiti as the mayor on behalf. The question is in respect of sustainable development in Denpasar City, vision and mission, how the roles of multicultural ethnic identity in Denpasar city in supporting the cultural and economical aspect of Denpasar Orange program about Orange economic concept. Please answer it, Ibu Restiti. Still unmuted, Ibu. Please unmute it.
Oke, udah.
Yeah, thank you.
Oke. Aspek multicultural itu dalam hal mendukung culture kita, bagaimana kita menguatkan itu ada semacam kita beruntung bahwa di Denpasar ini aspek multicultural itu adalah semacam strength atau kekuatan kita untuk bersama-sama membangun orange economy. Jadi tahun ini pun kita di Denpasar juga melaksanakan apa yang pada saat sebelum pandemi, syukurlah kita bisa melaksanakan perayaan Imlek di kawasan Jalan Gajah Mada. Di kawasan Jalan Gajah Mada ini, di sana kita melihat multicultural dan multi etnik yang ada di sana. Jadi di sana ada teman-teman kita yang dari etnik Tionghoa, kemudian ada Arab, India, dan juga dari di Serangan itu bisa kita lihat juga teman-teman kita dari Makassar, jadi ada Kampung Bugis, Kampung Jawa. Ini semua merupakan kekayaan kita yang akan kita gandeng bersama-sama sebagai suatu kekuatan untuk membangun orange economy. Bagaimanapun juga, orange economy ini adalah pembangunan ekonomi kreatif yang berbasis budaya. Jadi tidak hanya budaya Bali, namun kita juga harus merangkul semua budaya yang ada di Kota Denpasar tanpa kehilangan jati diri kita sendiri. Itu mungkin itu yang bisa saya sampaikan.
Baik, terima kasih Ibu Riastiti sekali lagi. Thank you for the answer and thank you for the question from Mr. Freddy once again. Thank you. I hope you in a good health in Tasmania. And and
Okay.
yeah. And the last question is for Mr. Ting from Ibu Diana Butler.
Okay, hi.
Ibu Diana, you prefer to ask directly to Mr. Ting or I read your question?
You read the question, I just become...
Okay, I read the question, yeah. Mr. Ting, can you speak about how the cities in Malaysia are able to maintain such beautiful public garden? It seems that design of modern building also are inclusive of the nature. Please answer, Mr. Ting, the question from Ibu Diana.
Thank you, Ibu Diane, for the good questions. Well, we look into the infrastructure in KL. Okay, now I've been to designs of, especially like Melbourne, okay, one of the very systematic cities in the world. They have very systematic roads, they have very systematic pavements and etc. But then when we look into the infrastructure in Kuala Lumpur, the design and etc., we can see also there are a lot of developments that has taken place in Kuala Lumpur itself. So we look at the public parts. Now, we look into the profit-oriented projects and also the government projects. The government projects, they look into all walks of life, everyone that is, whether they are rich or they are poor. So the design of the infrastructure, the design of the public parts that is in Kuala Lumpur, we can see that it is actually well designed, though the land in Kuala Lumpur is very, very expensive. And it can be sold by the government for a huge amount of money. But then we as the rakyat, that is the population of the citizens of Malaysia, we feel that, well, the government has been doing a lot of good things. They have been trying to promote equity for everyone. not only focusing on the business profits, but also on the welfare, the fairness of everyone. And we can see that Kuala Lumpur, though we have a lot of developments, but then there are a stable distribution between developments and also the greeneries. Okay, so there are quite a lot of lands that have been dedicated, and government has actually said that, well, those are untouched. Those belongs to the people and to the community. Okay, so that is how our government is actually emphasizing about green and sustainability issues for the rakyat and for the people. Okay, I hope that I'm answering you, Ibu Dayana. Okay, thank you.
Is it enough, Ibu Dayana?
Terima
Thank you,
kasih.
Mr. Ting. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ting, for the answer, and thank you also to Miss Ibu Dayana for the question. And that will be our last question for this session. Because of time, I'm very sorry to close this session for the first session Q&A. Before we go to next session, second session of keynote speakers presentation, please enjoy our company profile of IDB Bali.
Matu Suksma, terima kasih. Santi,
Suksma,
Santi,
Ibu.
Santi Om.
Om Santi 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 Om.
Perkenalkan, nama saya Newayan Dinda Gayatri Mohoni, bisa dipanggil Dinda. Jadi untuk koleksi saya ini, saya mengangkat tema tentang zodiak. Dan kebetulan zodiak saya itu adalah Taurus, jadi saya mengangkat tentang Taurus. Zodiak itu merupakan ilmu psikologi, dan di ilmu psikologi itu pasti ada karakteristik manusia, ada ego-egonya manusia. Jadi implementasi yang saya terapkan untuk koleksi saya itu bisa dilihat dari pemilihan warna, terus tekstur kain, dan detail kecil seperti belt itu yang melambangkan ego manusia. Jadi ego manusia itu kan mengikat kita. Dan banyak juga detail-detail kecil yang saya tambahkan seperti pewarnaan dari rasi bintang, dari logo dari Taurus itu sendiri, dan bentuk fisik dari banteng itu juga. Sekian dan terima kasih.
Hai, nama saya Rahel Flynn Chandra, biasa dipanggil dengan Rahel. Koleksi saya bertemakan tentang toxic social standard. Saya mengangkat tema toxic social standard karena social standard pada zaman sekarang ini seringkali menyebabkan diskriminasi di antara masyarakat. Toxic social standard ini saya implementasikan dengan bahan satin berwarna hitam dengan desain yang terstruktur dan asimetris. Hal itu menggambarkan toxic social standard yang terkadang tidak adil bagi masyarakat. Kemudian, jati diri masyarakat saya gambarkan dengan bahan organza berwarna nude. Dengan desainnya yang berumbai dan longgar, itu menggambarkan tentang kebebasan. Sekian, terima kasih.
Okay, we come back to the keynote speaker session again, and I'm starting the second session of keynote speaker presentation. And before I start to let our keynote speaker to present, I would like to remind once again to all of participants to asking questions from our chat room in this Zoom application. Please write your name, write your institution, and also your question. Please be written in English, and also for whom this question will be asked for. Okay, and I would like to introduce our first presenter, keynote speaker presenter for this session, this second session. We will hear presentation from Mr. Ton van Braght. Hello, Mr. Ton, and let me to explain a little bit his short background. Mr. Ton van Braght is the owner of Ton van Braght Design, an independent brand design and consultancy, and he holds the Bachelor of Art Communication Design from Advanced University of Applied Science in 1985, and he has many years experience as designer, as creative directors, and also senior art director since 1985 until now. And he has several awards in design at 1988, 1990, 1991, 1995, and in 2001. And he also has several educational experiences as lecturer, especially in typography in Rotterdam and Kuala Lumpur. And Mr. Ton, please present your material, and the time and floor is yours. You can unmute your microphone, Mr. Ton. Still unmute. Mr. Irfan, still try to unmute your microphone.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I'm online now. Om
Yeah.
Swastiastu.
Om Swastiastu, Mr. Ton.
Thank you very much,
You're welcome.
IDB and STD, for inviting me to this event. I'm very honored. And I would like to share some slides with you. Let me just get that sorted out. Share the screen. You have to let me share the screen, Ardina.
Okay. Can you share your screen? Yeah. You have the co-host now. Yeah. Okay.
Yes?
It's clear. It's
You can
clear.
see?
I see
Okay,
it clear.
great. Thank you. So I'm a brand designer. Usually we are talking about products and services, but I decided in light of the COVID situation to focus a little bit more on destination branding for this event. I'm from Holland, so this is a typical destination picture for the Netherlands. I spent about 20 years in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, as a creative director for my own company. I was also working in the Philips design for 2 years in Hong Kong. And recently I spent 2 years in Guangzhou, China, working as a principal design manager for Procter & Gamble, the big international FMCG company. Now I've been in Bali for 1 year, and I also saw the Nyepi last year, and it was just incredible. Also like to do some photography of nature. I just wanted to share a few design projects so you have a little bit of an idea where I come from. I did a lot of work for art galleries, like art catalogs and things like this. This was quite a long time ago, but it was an exhibition in Bali. I worked on a packaging identity program for Philips. You can still see some of these packagings in the store these days. I was also working in my own design company in Kuala Lumpur on the project Kuala Lumpur City Center, the Petronas Twin Towers. And we did a marketing center, marketing communications material for that project. I spent 4 years with another design team. We co-created a rebranding for Petronas, Dagangan, the marketing division of Petronas in Malaysia. So we did everything from the signage, the livery, uniforms, and that all compiled together in a brand identity guideline book. More recently, we created an identity for Malaysia major events and for its parent company, Malaysia Convention and Exhibition Center, a Malaysia Convention and Exhibition Bureau, the subsidiary of the Ministry of Tourism in Malaysia. So these are some applications, brochures, apps. Recently, last year, I spent 2 years in Guangzhou, China. I was responsible for this brand, Vidal Sassoon. It's a hair care brand. We redid the packaging to be using sustainable materials, biodegradable material. And also we upgraded the label design and the bottle design itself. And we launched a new product identity range for styling and treatment. This was targeted to the younger Chinese female and also male consumer. So this is now in the market in China. Currently, I'm an independent brand design consultant, having a company in Hong Kong, but I'm now kind of luckily stuck in Bali. So it's a good place to be. I like it here. So a little bit about branding in general. What is branding? Branding is the visual, rational, emotional, and cultural image associated with a product, company, a service, or a place. That is a destination, which I wanted to focus on a little bit. So look at the value of power brands. These are the 10 top most valuable brands on the planet at this moment, meaning January, early this year. And as you can see here, there are 3 big brands from China coming into this top 10, and they have kicked out Coca-Cola, which has been for like many, many years the #1, Disney, Toyota, and McDonald's also. So this is a force, as we know, China is a force to reckon with. I come back to that a little bit later in relationship to tourism and destination. I would like to ask the audience, does anyone recognize this brand? You can say if you recognize it.
No, I don't recognize it.
Okay, and then the next one.
What is it? Oh yes, I know it.
What is it?
Yeah, Apple.
Apple computer. Okay, so this is what I want to show as a graphic designer. We're always busy with logos and brand identities, of course. But what the point is of this slide, such a small area of the logo gives already recognition. That is the importance also of branding and consistent application of a logo or a brand. So a strong and simple brand mark is where we start. Another test, who recognizes this logo? It is a destination. It is not a product. Anyone?
I love NY, New York. I love New York.
Yes, great. Thank you. So it's the same story. The recognition of a brand used for many years, consistently since 1976, when they were in a crisis. You know, they asked Milton Glaser to design a brand for them to attract more tourists and visitors and to show confidence. Of course, it's just not just only about a logo. It is much more than that. You start with a logo and a visual identity, colors, typography, etc. But you also need to look into advertising, social media, the PR strategy, endorsements from KOLs or influencers. These days, of course, it's very important. And then you need to look at the environment. If we talk about a shop or a brand that sells clothing, we're talking about the retail, about the shop. But if you talk about a country or a destination, it is also important to look at the physical experience when you move around. And then, of course, the quality of a product or a service. The waitress in a restaurant, let's say, she's friendly, then that is very important for your brand experience. Customer service, if you have a question, is the answer or the question answered properly? And of course, the price point is also important. How much does it cost to go there? How much does it cost to stay there? How much does it cost to eat, etc. So that is the total picture of a brand experience. From the outside, we call this the brand image. That is the image that a consumer or a visitor has of a product or a destination. So a little bit about destination marketing, because destination branding and destination marketing go hand in hand. What is it? It's basically the promoting a city, a region, or a country. It's educating people about a location before they visit. So, for instance, you go online, you look at Bali, and you Google the destination, you see pictures, and you start to learn about your future visit to that destination. And it also is very important to acknowledge that it is also about improving the well-being of the visitors. The visitor wants to have a positive experience and a positive memory, and maybe he will stay longer, and that helps to generate more income, which will benefit then the locals, the local population that are involved in the tourism business. So I had a quick look at the region. This is how many people visited the Southeast Asian region and where they went. So you can see Thailand is #1 with almost 40 million people in 2018. And if you go down 4 steps, you see Indonesia, about 16 million tourists arrivals. So zooming in a little bit on Bali, we have most visitors to Bali are from China. That's obviously. The second is Australia, and then you go down, and then some of the European countries at the bottom. So again, there's a huge opportunity. I have a little quiz for the audience. If you think of Thailand, what word comes to your mind in one word? Thinking about the tourist destination Thailand. Anyone?
Beach. PP Island. Paradise.
Okay.
No. What's again? Oh,
Amazing
amazing.
Thailand. So this is about the verbal articulation. That means a tagline that also is used consistently, and hopefully that will stick into people's minds. In Bali, we use the island of gods. Have another one. What word comes to your mind if you think about Malaysia?
Truly Asia.
Very good. So they have been using this also very consistently for many years. Another little quiz. What comes to your mind in terms of image when you think of the Seychelles? Anyone?
Maybe the coast or beach.
Yes, the beach.
Yes.
What about the Maldives?
The resort.
Exactly. Yes.
Upper the
Koh
beach.
Lipe is Thailand. What do you think of when you imagine Thailand?
Also tropical vibes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Tropical vibes.
Yes. So now we are in Bali. What comes to your mind as an image?
Maybe the Balinese dancing. Balinese dance.
Exactly. So great. Thank you for that, because that is my point here.
Yeah.
If you take 10 tropical islands around the world, they all share the same visual recall, like an image that you think of when you think of that destination, and they're all blue, white, green, beach, right? So in Bali, we also have the beach, but we have something that is much more powerful, and that is the culture and the tradition and the arts. So I think that could be an opportunity to really emphasize and to make Bali stand out, you know, because Bali is unique, as we all know. So now zooming in a little bit about, you know, the branding, the destination branding, and how to engage the audience from trying to get them to come from A to B. The Island of Gods. We have already seen in the previous presentations how unique Bali is. So I have been here only 1 year, but I did a bit of research. You know, we have got the tree Anita Karana, the balance between God, community, and nature. I find it absolutely fascinating, and it's so unique, and it's so important also to emphasize and to communicate this in light of the corona pandemic, because I think if you have the balance between God and the community and nature, then you are very sustainable, and it will lead to hopefully to peace. Then there are the deities, the gods, the Trimurti. They are linked also to a color, and that's where I'm coming from a graphic perspective. We could look into using, you know, those 3 colors in our possible brand exercise, or if you wanted to do a rebranding, you can dig into the culture, the local culture, and get inspired by it for your design. So does Amazing Bali need a brand refresh? I think, again, with the COVID-19, we need to communicate that Bali is a safe place and a beautiful place where we follow the guidelines and can welcome the audience or the tourists as soon as possible again. So it's about reassurance that the destination is a good place to be. I looked at Amsterdam because I'm from Holland, what they are doing at this time on their online campaign. It's really to communicate that you can go to Amsterdam and to be safe if you follow the regulations, etc. etc. This on their website, I Love Amsterdam. They also have an area online where they promote to discover Amsterdam on a virtual visit. So that means you can't go there maybe yet, but you can still start to learn about the destination. So brand design. a few aspects. There are many, but these are the three most important things. You need to have a big idea, and then your communication on all the brand expressions, online, offline, environmental, they have to be based on that central concept in order to drive down that one concept, that one big idea. You need to stick to that with your team, with your marketing team, your brand team, to make it clear where you are coming from. Then you need the visual style. That's my area of expertise, visual and verbal articulation of that big idea. So that's colors, typography, imagery, video, etc. And of course, nowadays everything is digital, it's Instagram, it's online, and that is an amazing opportunity to really reach people with a personalized experience. Because if you go onto Instagram, they will mine your data, they will know what are your preferences, and you can really target your promotions to certain demographics, age groups, different countries, etc., etc. So we always use this model, we call it the brand pyramid, where you start with that big idea. That big idea can be generated in a task force or a working team, and then currently it's the island of gods. Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Ton. Your time is 5 minutes again.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go a little bit
Please
faster.
explain faster. Okay.
So brand persona, what is it? We are kind, smiling, and caring. The emotional benefits, safe, calm, blissful, and happy. Mental and physical health would be the functional benefits, and the features are the weather, the scenery, and the clean environments. Design, as I said, brand design is more than just a logo. You need that visual identity, the fonts, the colors, the imagery. This is an example from Estonia, where you can see the consistency in terms of color and typography on all applications. You need to look into your Marcom materials. For instance, the smart apps, where you can see where you are and where you want to go and how far you're away from your target. And then, of course, you have to look at your Instagram and other social media platforms. And again, back to the environment, you could create an interesting and a good environment where you can easily navigate your destinations. So this could be a tentative briefing to rebrand the destination Bali post-COVID, safe, healthy, spiritual. Again, that is just a proposal, but that could be generated also in a team. You need to look at your specific target audiences, as mentioned, and it would be recommendable to involve all the stakeholders, healthy retreats, the farmers, beauty products, healthcare facilities, hospitals, etc., so that you can have the buy-in. Logo, tagline, and applications and brand guidelines. I made this quick schematic visual mood board with some design elements, color, the local script perhaps, look into motives. These are inspirational areas that could be pulled together into a brand mood board. That's your tagline. Perhaps you can have like a promotional logo. I changed I love New York to we love Bali because I believe Balinese are about community and about togetherness rather than selfish. So I think we is better than I love Bali, because I love Bali would be saying more about the foreigner, whereas we is about the community and the right that people have in their home. So one last test. What brand is this?
Okay, I cannot see what the brand is it.
Cannot see it.
Okay, we love Bali. Is it right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
That was my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Ton. I'm very interesting for your presentation. Actually, my field is not in communication visual design. I'm from interior design and architecture design, but branding is very, very interesting to learn. And branding, I think, have an important role today. And thank you once again to Mr. Ton for your presentation. And next, we will hear next presentation from Mr. Alastair Brooke. Hello, Mr. Alastair Brooke from Ireland. And let me to explain his short background. He is actually the youngest keynote speaker today, but has a lot of achievement. And Mr. Alastair Brooke holds his BA Product Design from York St. John University in York, England in 2013, and hold his Master of Art in Design in the same university in 2014, and studied a PhD of Architectural Education in University College Cork in Cork, Ireland since 2018 until now. And he also has experience as an educator, as tutor and academic supervisor, and also visiting lecturer at University College of Cork, Ireland. And in 2018, he as a founders and architectural designers at Design Student Global Network, or DSGN, an Irish social enterprise that has worked closely with various indigenous communities in Bali, Indonesia, to design architectural projects ready for construction, include co-designing and also co-learning process with local communities member and design students from across the globe. And he also, as a graphic and branding designer in Cork, Ireland. Today, he also invite a guest speaker, Ibu Sari. Good morning, Ibu Sari. Hello, Ibu Sari. Okay. Mr. Al. Mr. Alastair. You can, yeah, hello. Ibu Sari, is she ready?
Yeah, Ibu Sari is here, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Alastair, please present your material, and the time and floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, wonderful. So, I mean, hello and good morning. Om Swastiastu. It's actually 4:30 a.m. here in wet and cold Ireland. So I hope you'll forgive any small errors in my presentation. It's very early for me, but it's a pleasure to be back here again at the Institute of Design and Business Bali, even though it is digitally this time. And before I started my presentation, I just wanted to thank the conference committee for inviting me to speak today alongside such great keynote speakers that we've already had. And also just to acknowledge the incredible variety of interesting papers that are being presented later on today. I can't wait to watch quite a lot of them, so it's very exciting, and thank you for letting me be here. So I will just try and share my screen now with you. Perfect.
Yes,
so
perfect.
Just to introduce myself briefly, my name is Alastair Brooke. I'm a PhD student at the Cork Centre for Architectural Education, which is a joint venture between University College Cork and the Cork Institute of Technology here in the Republic of Ireland. It's actually a pleasure to be working on my doctoral research with the PKP community in Bali and their founder, Ibu Sari, who is also joining me today as an honored guest speaker, as you just mentioned. So hi, Ibu, and also I just want to wish you a very happy birthday, as it's your birthday today. Would you be happy to tell us a little bit more about yourself and also introduce the PKP Community Centre?
Om Swastiastu. Hello, everyone. Thank you
Om
so much.
Swastiastu, Ibu Sari. Thank you for joining us.
It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Alastair Brooke, for having me here also to accompanying you to see join amazing people here. I'm Ibu Sari, I'm Balinese. I was born in a jungle. I grew up in the jungle and living in the jungle. So I'm a jungle woman. Today I'm wearing my traditional old kabaya. After went through unpleasant situation, I decided to creating opportunities for not only children, women, but also communities where they can come to learn and share. Also opportunities to see a road of life map where through multiple program and joyful and meaningful activities at the center. And I'm not going to talk more about the PKP itself. If everyone would like to hear and see more about the PKP Center, please visit our website on Alastair's Brook slideshow on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu. So the website for PKP Community Center is below their logo on every slide of this presentation if you have more interest. But this presentation mostly will actually be introducing storying architecture, which is a proposed design and research method. It will then briefly outline 8 ethical principles related to conducting this method remotely, and then explore the development of 8 design data collection activities related to this method. So you can actually read more about this method in the accompanying paper to this presentation, which is titled, Can We Virtually Model Architectural Patterns from Stories? Which should be available in the conference proceedings. So as I just mentioned, storying architecture is a proposed research and design method and is still in the trial and development phase. So unlike some of the other speakers today, this method discusses a future process that is yet to happen. As a method, it has the specific aim of rebelliously creating architectural spaces through critical storytelling. So this process requires designers and researchers to actually work against the dominant design systems that they are a part of. Firstly, by guiding and facilitating community groups in the exploration of their own often suppressed native design languages through auto-ethnographic storytelling of their daily lives and their built environments. And then secondly, to use these languages to design between the lines of dominant design systems to create their own architectural spaces. So designing between the lines actually occurs when community members work with designers and researchers in a co-design process, but rather than working solely in a closed or a controlled process of the instigator of the designer or researcher, community members integrate their own design languages into this process, often unbeknownst to the actual designer or researcher. As such, storying architecture would then merely become a departure point for greater unnamed native design methods that would surpass and supplant the dominant systems from which it has been born from. This small act of rebellious design, repeated across many architectural spaces in different community groups, can actually begin to slowly change dominant design systems from within. So these architectural spaces become beacons of change, expressing and sharing native design languages as examples of dissidence in practice. So these spaces not only exemplify changes to design systems, but also changes that extend to other oppressive or dominant systems that are actually so interconnected and coexistent with design. So this rebellion and dissidence is a vital part of both design evolution, but also general human progression, as it recognizes good patterns and forms within our built environments that improve native quality of life, and then moves away from bad patterns and forms that perpetuate everyday frictions that are caused by dominant or oppressive systems. So this is why storying architecture as a proposed method focuses on recognizing everyday frictions and bad architecture that perpetuate them in order to design good architecture that will then resolve them. So I'm thrilled to be trialing this method with Ibu Sari and the PKP community in Bali. From knowledge that has been shared with me through Ibu's stories, I personally believe that the PKP community group includes members who have been suppressed or stigmatized in some way by wider cultural and societal systems. So these overarching systems are so interconnected with Balinese design systems, which have been perpetuated within everyday life by small yet consistent elements of bad architecture within the design of home compounds, agricultural businesses, temples and religious environments, or Banjar urban plans, by enforcing traditional family or caste values or traditional gender identities. So what I hope to do is explore how these different built environments affect the everyday life of PKP community members at their community centre by encouraging the community members to recognize any bad architecture that perpetuates everyday frictions and stigmas, and then to explore native design languages in order to design a community hall with the aim of increasing their quality of life. Hopefully then, over time, the relations between the PKP community, their built environment, and the wider supporting systems will undergo sustained change away from any oppressive tendencies towards native inclusivity. So normally this kind of method and focus would be on everyday life, and it would rely on face-to-face storytelling and tangible model making to create different story elements. And story elements could be anything from models, paintings, diaries, material samples, anything like this, in a joint interpretation between the researcher and the community group. So ongoing world events such as the COVID-19 pandemic limit physical interaction and travel and have dictated that story elements must now combine features of digital media to enable them. So this then begs the question of how storying, designing and modeling can actually adapt to this new research culture and be exercised digitally without succumbing to techno-colonization or misrepresenting native design languages of community groups. So in my research, in an attempt to answer this question and solve this dilemma, I have outlined 8 ethical principles that I will follow when handling elements of stories in the digital medium. And you can find more detailed explanations of these within the accompanying paper. But principle 1 is the responsibility of storytelling. So storying architecture will focus on listening, learning, sharing, and teaching the smaller stories of everyday life, rather than the larger narratives of culture or theory, as the new standard of explaining built environments. Principle 2 is creating and respecting data within stories. So storying architecture must use data collection tools that allow community members, not just the researcher, to create, own, control, and share their stories freely in an effort to equally respect and understand the knowledge within them. Principle 3 is remembering and transforming trauma. So storying architecture attempts to recognize and then healthily transform different types of oppression that may be shared within stories, bringing them into the present by co-authoring new stories, co-creating new spaces, and then introducing new characters and values into these spaces. Principle 4, relevance of cultural context. So it's not the researcher's responsibility to decide the relevance or importance of broader values, contexts, or cultures that are present within the storyteller's lived experiences, or their impact on the lives of those directly connected to the study. So instead, researchers and designers must work with the storyteller to consider these in a double hermeneutic approach. Principle 5, sharing catalytic stories. So any data, including metadata, that is collected using the storying architecture method must be accessible to Indigenous peoples, other researchers, and also the general public, so that it can be shared, re-examined, and restoried between different community groups. Principle 6, misrepresentation and fabrication of stories. So researchers must be transparent about their own biases, their limitations and their agendas in order to minimize impartiality and censorship. But they must also work with facilitators and translators who have existing relationships with study participants in order to minimize conflicts of interest, linguistic uncertainty, or other kinds of misunderstandings that might occur. Principle 7, trust building between teller and listener. So as Principle 6 shows, there is the potential for the storyteller or the researcher to unknowingly create multiple personas which may put the other in a state of doubt or distrust. So both the storyteller and the researcher or designer must share their own personal stories and connect to their inner being, whilst intently listening to the other to appreciate their story's true meaning. And finally, Principle 8, conflict resolution for actionable change. So in this method, the community itself has to invite the project in, has to set its parameters, and has to demand systematic change. So as the roles of researcher and researched begin to evolve in this new dynamic, it's expected that conflicts of interest may occur between community members or with the researcher. So to resolve these conflicts, we will try and use mediating objects to deconstruct and then reconstruct opposing ideas until both sides agree on an acceptable compromise that brings new possibilities for public action. So storying architecture will always, first and foremost, try to engage in physical and practical activities in the real world. So we have drafted 8 written activities that follow the roadmap to life used by the PKP community, which focus on the everyday environments of community members and how to improve these environments. So the life design story is an oral tale of the participants' life up to this moment, with a focus on their environments, which includes different events, characters, and settings that they interact with. The most often journal will look deeper at these daily environments and question which of these participants spend the most time in. The happiness tank would then explore the energy and engagement of participants in each of their daily environments, which would then hopefully pinpoint good and bad architecture within them. The True North Compass would evaluate which of these daily environments complement or clashes with participants' work and life philosophies. The Wayfinding Satellite Mind Map will then explore new ideas on how to actually change participants' daily environments to move closer to these work and life philosophies. Fast Forward then considers how these changes to participants' daily environments may actually look over the next 5 years. And the Future Radar is then an opportunity for participants to share and discuss these ideas with each other, and then collectively decide which changes are most likely to happen in their environment. And finally, Prototyping Choices would ask participant groups to collectively model and prototype the changes in their environment that they think are most likely to happen, and to come to a communal consensus over iterative model-making processes. So Ibusari has conducted a trial focus group of these initial activities with some of the PKP community and tried the activities herself. On the screen, you can actually see the activities that Ibu has filled out herself. So I will now pass over to Ibusari and ask her if she will share her insights and experiences of this initial trial, and then give her advice for continuing improvements of this method as we move forward into the future together. So I welcome Ibu.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful, Alastair. We had bring these activities into our community members, and we were, not only myself, but also the rest of the community members were happy and felt this is wow, this is something new happen. I mean, brought to our community where if we talk about the architecture or build or design something, no one to really ask and involve us into the design plan or any other things. So this is something great that help us to being involved since the start of the designed plan. And from most of the activities we tried before, we found positive things in it. And since we are living in a rural village, we also found that the community needs something fun when integrate or present any ideas or activities and things. Thank you, Alastair, for written down and made the illustration. This really helped us to explain better for the audience. Yes, it is right. We do have activities with fun movement for everyone to engage their motivation better or increased the engagement. And we do have one of, luckily we do have one of our lady, which is my sibling, my sister. Her nickname is Chicken. She's our center comedian. That's need to be always in every activities we run. And the next thing we found is we need something short, means immediate future, instead of asking people, because it's coming from being a followers for a long time. People don't really see and able to see much further about their future until we help them to guide them to see and guide them to start with having curiosity and things like that. Then in every activities or ideas or presentation, things like that, we also need visual instruction and also practical things more rather than reading or writing, because we're not used to in the jungle. We so much interact with monkeys and chicken and all those things. We're not really used to read and write. That's not our things. And also, yeah, this need to be really help. These activities help the communities to exploring our potential and also the impact of our everyday life through the questions and things like that. So when people come with ideas, need to give them many questions, then they start thinking and they start seeing their daily life, which is they are doing every day. They've been doing every day. And yeah, these activities also help the community members to feel comfortable, share their stories and be okay to talk about and involve into the design plan and things like that. So that's I think overall input and thoughts that we got from the activities trial at the center. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And that's the end of the presentation. Matur Suksma for having us today. And I will hand over now back to moderator. Thank you.
Okay, matur suksma to Alastair and Ibu Sari. Thank you for the presentation. It's such an interesting presentation, but the most interesting part of this presentation is empower individual to become a leader instead of the follower. And I absolutely agree with that. Okay. Next, I would like to once again, thank you for all and Ibu Sari for the presentation. Now I open the second session for a question and answer session. Okay, there is one question from Ibu Diana Butler to Ibu Sari. Maybe Ibu Sari can tell Ibu Diana about PKP itu singkatannya untuk apa ya? Artinya, what is the PKP? PKP, what is the PKP? From Ibu Diana.
Thank you, Ibu Diana.
Maybe,
very pleased to connect with you, even I don't really see your face, but PKP stand for Pusat Kegiatan Perempuan. So our previous name was PKP Women Center and then Kim Women Center. Now since we enlarge our work, our activities, not only focus on women empowering as the neck of the world and children as part of the family compound, family members, we enlarge and we embrace everyone at the center. And now the PKP Women Center turned into PKP Community Center. So the PKP itself help us to recognize where the PKP Community Center coming from. So yeah. So yeah, PKP is Pusat Kegiatan Perempuan, but since we turn into PKP Community Center is a name to remember where we started and we came from. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Sari, for the answer, and thank you, Ibu Diana, for the question. And I still don't see any question yet after a question from Ibu Diana. But while we waiting for next question from our audience, I would like to ask a question to Mr. Ton Van Braak. Mr. Ton, for you, in your perspective, what is the main point to increase New Bali branding after this pandemic, after this COVID-19 pandemic? Maybe you can answer my question.
Good question.
Thank you.
I think when you relaunch let's say a tourism campaign to communicate that Bali is safe again and beautiful and a good destination to go to, I think it could help if there is a refresh of the brand, of the Bali brand in terms of the visual identity. So I always say when you change your behavior or you change your role, or you have to go to a meeting, you change your suit. So if you have a new suit, that shows that you actually have changed a little bit. So I think in line with that could be an opportunity to look into that. To signify
thank
change.
You. Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. It's enough. And we have, thank you, Mr. Ton, for the answer. And then we have one question from Ibu Yogi Antari again from Institut Seni Indonesia dan Pasar. The question is to Ibu Sari again. The question is, hi Ibu Sari, great to see you here. I would love to say thank you of what you are doing in PKP Women Center. Also, thank you for helping one of my students in ISI Denpasar who made a documentary movie concept of you and PKP. I am Desa Putu Yogi Antari, lecturer in ISI Denpasar. The question is, do you find many difficulties in running PKP programs, helping women regarding patriarchy system that we have in Bali? Maybe Bu Sari can answer this question directly, please.
All right, thank you so much. Oh, wow, it's so, yeah, many surprise today. Without seeing everyone faces, I don't know which one, so many people I met, but thank you for the question. And I could say yes. How could you expecting not having challenge? When you would like to deal with uncomfortable zones or unpleasant things which has been taboo in your community. But what we always share to others is the first step is do LAF. Look, ask, and feel. The more you look, the more you observe, the more you ask, the more you feel, the deeper you feel, then you will automatically know how. Because what has been lacked is people don't know how themselves. That is the reason why we have multiple programs at the center with joyful and meaningful activities to give opportunities as much as we could for people to see themselves deeper, and also how to find a better way that they can choose to respond any behaviors or situation when it's unpleasant in their society or their life. And yeah, so far being a social worker, it's lead me to be everything, to be an actress as well, where I often made a scenarios to jump into the situation directly if we or myself think it's urgent and harm others. So yeah, patriarchy system has been a system that created for such a long time. And again, back to my previous share or sentence, it takes time. We use Bali time, slowly but surely, even many times not sure. But it should be start from ourselves first, understand our situation, and then we automatically know how to find a way in soft way. So I myself turn my pain into a soft way to help people see a road of life map where they can choose many different ways of communication instead of extreme way. So yeah, I myself been haven't seen my own daughter since I got divorced for, I mean, we could not reunited for 16 years already. And I've been in a long waiting, but I've been grateful having all this unpleasant situation to help me see myself better and know how. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Sari, for the answer. And Ibu Sari used kebaya, same with us, the IMADe committee too. We also use kebaya today for IMADe. And
happy
thank
kebaya
you also.
And happy birthday.
Happy kebaya. Happy birthday once again to Ibu Sari. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Okay, hope you in good health, Ibu Sari.
Thank
And
you,
also
thank
you for Ibu Yogi Antari for the question. And the last but not least question come from our lecturer of visual communication design of IDB Bali for Mr. Ton van Bra. The question is, Hello, Mr. Ton van Bra. I'm really interested in destination branding. In Bali itself, there are a lot of kampung wisata or tourism village that start to make branding for their village and try to make differentiation. As I see, in the end of presentation, you bring interesting proposal in Bali branding, such as Trita to Color, Saput Toleng, and Bali vibes in general. Could we get a tips or for key process to help destination branding for our kampung wisata or village tourism in Bali, which is a soup of Bali branding? Maybe Mr. Ton, you can answer this question directly.
That is a very good question as well. I think when I'm looking around the different villages and I go on my Scoopy to get lost in Bali, there are already so many beautiful visual cues in the villages itself and in the compounds in terms of the architectural, the interior details, the banners, flags, the poleng, the dress. It's really amazing. So that's why I put a few of those pictures in the end of the presentation, because that to me could be a starting point of an identity for even for a village as inspiration. And perhaps it would be interesting to look into how we could modernize with the ingredients that are already beautiful and already are existing in the local communities and in the kampongs or in the compounds, how we can develop an identity for a village that is contemporary, that is modern, that is of today. I think that could be quite an interesting exploration. I think that would be my answer.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Mr. Ton, and thank you for Angamaha for the question. And I'm very sorry, there are many questions again, but I must close this session because of the time. And this is very, very interesting and really, really good presentation and also a question, so we can have a good discussion here. But once again, because of time, we must close it. And from all of our speakers and discussion, a lot of we can learn from it. We can learn about inclusivity and creativity in multidisciplinary perspective, such in cultural studies, in social behavior, in branding, and also in architectural pattern and story perspective. And hopefully this session can adding more insight for us. And thank you for all speakers once again. And I hope next time we can meet directly, maybe in this next event this year. And I hope we all in a good health always, and see you in the next agenda. Now I return it back to Miss Yuni to explain our next rundown for today. Thank you very much once again, and good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Agnes.
One, two, three. The second time. 1, 2, 3. The third time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, before I end this conference, I would like to inform you to the following matters. For participants who join the parallel session, there are going to be a total of 4 rooms: Kintamani Room, Kuta Room, Sanu Room, Ubud Room, in 2 sessions. Session 1 will be held on 2 p.m. until 4 p.m. Bali times, and session 2 will be held on 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. Bali times. Please kindly join the room based on the list and schedule given by email, or you can check via website IMADe 2020. The online proceeding has been published and can be accessed through account OGS IMADe 2020. Now, I will leave you with a quote by Stewart Brand, an author and innovative thinker who once said, "We can see the past but not influence it. We can influence the future but not see it. Let us all be guided by all the things we have learned and heard throughout the conference and be able to see and influence our future." On behalf of the Institute of Design and Business Bali, the Committee of IMADe 2020 would like to thank you for all the keynote speakers, guests, and participants, and also our partner and sponsor who fully supported this conference. And please forgive us for the shortcomings and help us improve by next. Finally, we will close this conference by Parama Santi. Om Santi, 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 Om. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May peace be upon you. All the participants can leave the room now and join the panel session and see meeting again based on the room and session that is given earlier.